of just a little bit of context. We're at FinStech,
Yep.
right?
2026.
Yeah.
Indy. Yeah. True. Let's back it up.
Yeah.
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 And so the thing is like, and maybe just kind of like give a little bit of context to this. There's this whole thing that happens at trade shows, right?
Yeah.
People get excited to go. They get outside of the norm. It's a work event, but then there's like fun that happens late at night.
Yeah. And it's actually what I preach. I say the transformation happens in connection and conversation, not just the information. So there's that. What do you do?
Yeah.
There's information you're missing, but then you're making the connection. And I think what really stands out to me, though, when you're at these trade shows is, are you making the right connection? Are you shaking the right hands? And I can tell you, I woke up the other morning and the hands that I shake were working out. And that's not like a litmus test to determine if that's the right rooms, but it felt good to go in there and have a clear mind with just a group of people that were energized with medicine of the mind, right? You just running. So
I think the question is like, so from a leadership point of view, do you have to kind of like bring people and let them jump into this and then kind of see what happens before, or is this like a preparation thing? I mean, how do you?
Yeah, and that's actually exactly what I want to jump on, is because we've done this long enough to know that we do a lot of preparation. What's the one thing you want to take away from it? Who's the one person you want to meet? What does a win look like? How do we unpack this as soon as we go? Because a lot of times we spend a lot of energy and time going, but then we have no plan to unpack it with the people who didn't go. But even then, like when you have a plan, like Mike Tyson says, you get punched in the face, or in this case, a hangover, or whatever else. And so, if you control the environment, you'll never know the character of others. You'll never know how you face adversity. And so, to answer your question, is I would never want to be controlled, and I don't want to ever control anybody. My first response is when I get these texts. I mean, all night I've been getting these texts like, "Hey, what do I do? Someone's not planning on showing up. They're not responding. I'm like, well, what was the expectations that y'all both agreed on? What was the goal of the convention? And I don't get me wrong. Some people don't do much cultural events with their teams, so maybe this is it. But for us, I know I'd rather just go to the Dominican with a group of 16 to 20 people if we just want to hang out. And so I think there's layers to that.
Right. There's what happens before the event, right? There's preparation. I mean, expectation that happens in the preparation. What does a win look like? What's out of bounds? And people, I think the thing is, and this is just like a life thing. It's not just a leadership thing. It's a communication thing. We set a bunch of expectations in our head, and then sometimes we forget to tell anybody about them, right?
Unspoken expectations is premeditated resentment. And so, yeah. And that's what happens a lot of times. Our minds are moving so fast, we think we actually communicated something. But in my particular case, and I'm a walking, talking situation of this, is they set their own expectations, set their own goals, and I'm looking forward to what the outcome is. But it's going to look different for different people. Like we talk about Dakota being the chief fun officer. Well, the way he makes connection is completely different than the way now I make connection. And so I know that the people that are texting me are, for lack of better words, panicking. Like, do I hold them accountable? Do I join in? Did I spend my money wisely? And I mean, only they can answer that question. So I want to unpack that, because I think if you're here and you meet your goals and it looks differently, then mission accomplished, right? So my team knows we're going to $10.5 million. So the reality is, I don't care what room you're in, as long as we get to $10.5 million with the respective margins.
Yeah.
But you won't remember the outcome of this event when you look at the results from the year end. And so you've got to just talk through to make sure people have open conversations. So
Well, I think so. The opportunity now is like, what next, right? Maybe things didn't go the way you thought they were. But it could be an opportunity, right? And I think we talked about that earlier. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to come back and unpack what's the opportunity here.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. And I say like 10, 15 people messaged me. These are the things that they didn't expect or were surprised on. But I also know there's hundreds of people that were surprised and goals were being met. So I don't want to hyper focus on the things that need to be corrected or lessons that could be taught into learning. But The reality is, squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So let me back up for a second. What a successful trade show, I think, looks like is to make sure that everybody sets their own expectations. This is absolutely an opportunity to stretch your legs. Some of these people haven't been to these things before. And so the way you experience it the first time versus, like, I heard a gentleman in 27 years in a row, he's going to do FinStech completely different. And so you go with your one thing, you go with the plan. Maybe you correct the plan as you show up if something looks different. And then you got to make sure that you know what it looks like at the end. Because, like, if you're representing your sales team and you're going to learning about sales technique, how are you going to teach the rest of the sales team? So making sure you create that space.
Yeah.
And I think some other things is, like, what are the expectations at the show? Are you leaning into the show, or are you going to manage the show and manage your calendar or manage your inbox? And I know for me, I haven't looked at my emails much more than just to make sure that nobody needed me, but they would just call me. So I think that's setting up for success. But then we run into character, and how we handle ourselves personally is going to look completely different than how we handle ourselves professionally in some scenarios. We get really close to one another here.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not just about going out with the men and or going out with boys and waking up with the men that I want to chime in on, because that's not just the only one. It's even just simply like shaking a hand you don't know versus shaking a hand you do know. There's something about strengthening a relationship you already have, but the way that you can change your environment is to meet somebody new, right? So I think that there's a bunch of different opportunities there to unpack, and I want to do that. And I think, like, the reason why we're recording this right now is because I think somebody needs some courage and confidence that we too work through
Yeah.
this and make improvements. And every year we get better. And sometimes, like you mentioned, sometimes we fail to communicate our goals, even on the other end of it. So, anyways, that's where I'm at right now.
No, I think that's a good place to like press pause. And I think we kind of come back and unpack this. And it's, it's like you said, it's everybody. You talk about things like identifying a win, right? Like, does everybody know what a win looks like when you come? This is outside the normal environment. This is not the day to day. It's not the same responsibilities. It's not the same cadence. What does a win look like? But maybe more importantly, like, what state do you show up in as a leader? Like, what are you showing them? Like, is this a place where, like, I think you're a vendor here. Do you come with like a lot of stress because you're like, holy, we spent so much on this, and like, if we don't get it, and like, is that what you're teaching them, that like that's the state? Like, what does this mean? What's the story with it? And then what are we doing? Like, what does a win look like? Why are we here? If I do X, I know that I've won.
Yeah, I like that. And we got to be open to the idea of that. While it is important to look for the win, some of the best ones show up unannounced, right? And so I don't want to hold on to something so tight that we don't have our hand open to receive more. But I would agree that I think everyone needs to, one, take a pause and realize that we're in the moment. So
Yeah.
it'll be okay. And if you're watching this, it can be maybe a couple days or a week after the shows. The real win happens when you teach what you learned, right? Or you apply what you learned, change what you learned. That's the real win.
Yeah.
And make sure that the relationships in the hands of your shook weren't just a transaction, but they were transformational. I strongly suggest, and maybe this is a good way to end, but I strongly suggest anybody who goes to any of these things to sit next to somebody they don't know, because they're going to sit next to the person they know on the plane. So, anyways, I think we got a lot to unpack here. And if you're watching this and you want to walk through some of the riddles that popped up, we want you to call us and we'll jump you on here and we'll work through it. But this is a leadership learning lesson. Like, I mean, we can walk you through how to communicate the wins and losses. So, anyways, looking forward to it.
Yeah, sounds good, bud.
Yeah.